old man washed his face.
Other than Little House on the Prairie star and creator Michael Landon, and perhaps Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura Ingalls Wilder, there was perhaps no character more beloved than Isaiah Edwards, famously known as simply Mr. Edwards. He was played by longtime Western film and TV actor Victor French. Fans loved Mr. Edwards. He was a human grizzly bear who loved to drink and chew tobacco. He never backed down from a fight, and he loved a good laugh. But when he became your friend, you had a loyal friend for life who'd stand by your side through thick and thin. Mr. Edwards was famous for his bushy black beard, tattered cowboy hat, and his red and black checkered t-shirt. He even had his own theme song, Old Dan Tucker, which he sang in practically every episode. Mr. Edwards often provided the comic relief, whether he was annoying the uppity Miss Olsen with his gruff personality and hard drinking, or babysitting the Ingalls children. Edwards could always be counted on to lighten the mood and crack up the audience. He also had a special bond with Laura, who he loved like his own daughter. French first appeared in the 2-hour Little House TV movie in 1974, which served as the series pilot. Michael Landon had worked with French on his previous series, Bonanza, and he thought that he'd be perfect for the role of Isaiah Edwards. Audiences, like the Ingalls themselves, immediately fell in love with the character. Even Caroline, who first viewed him as a bad influence, she warmed up to the mountain man when he traveled through a blizzard on Christmas Eve with presents for the children and food for the family. When the show moved from the pilot stage to regular series, Michael Landon knew he wanted Victor French to play Mr. Edwards on a regular basis. Victor French would go on to star in 59 episodes of the iconic TV show. 18 of them he directed. Mr. Edwards was there from the very beginning, and he also appeared in the very last Little House on the Prairie episode, where Michael Landon famously blew up the town of Walnut Grove. However, Victor French's tenure of Mr. Edwards almost came to a premature ending when he decided to leave the show after season 3. Apparently, the decision to leave came down to money. Victor French felt like he was a vital part of the series. Little House on the Prairie was a top 10 show by the 3rd season, and French felt he should be better compensated for his work. NBC allegedly refused to rework French's contract, and when rival network ABC offered him his very own show, he decided to walk away from the iconic role of Mr. Edwards. The decision shocked Little House fans and allegedly angered Michael Landon to the point he barely even acknowledged Mr. Edwards' departure on the air. When season 4 began, the character of Mr. Edwards, along with his entire family, were essentially erased from existence. Michael Landon replaced Victor French with football star Merlin Olsen, who basically just filled the empty space left by French's departure. Olsen was cast as a rugged farmer named Jonathan Garvey. He and his family even took up their residence in the home formerly occupied by the Edwards family, and it appeared that storylines originally intended for Mr. Edwards and his family were simply reworked to suit the character of Jonathan Garvey. Eventually, though, Merlin Olsen would make the character his own, and in time, Big John Garvey became a beloved member of the Little House TV family. As Little House on the Prairie continued on as one of the most popular shows on television, Victor French's new comedy series over at ABC, Carter Country, was struggling. In the sitcom, French played Police Chief Roy Moby. He presided over a small sheriff's department in a fictional Georgia town called Clinton Corners. The plot centered around the stereotypical racism of the Deep South and even featured a police deputy who belonged to the Ku Klux Klan. Did I mention ABC marketed this show as a comedy? While Little House on the Prairie was a top 10 show, Carter Country finished its first season ranked 32nd out of 104 shows. The second season was even worse, with Carter Country finishing 70th place. It was no surprise that ABC canceled the series after 2 seasons. For the first time in 5 years, Victor French was unemployed. They say time heals all wounds, and while Michael Landon was initially hurt by Victor French's departure, he knew Little House fans loved the character of Mr. Edwards. Landon's also a savvy businessman, and he knew an appearance by the beloved character would be great for ratings. So, Victor French was brought back for a special episode in Season 6, appropriately titled The Return of Mr. Edwards. In the episode, Mr. Edwards, who now runs a logging company in another state, is injured during an accident while saving the life of his adopted daughter, Alicia. The accident leaves Mr. Edwards injured and bedridden. It's not long, however, before Charles and Laura race to the Edwards homestead to cheer up their old friend and help him regain his will to live. The episode was a ratings hit, and fans loved seeing Mr. Edwards on screen again. Even though the reunion was short-lived, it opened the door for Victor French's full-time return. He came back to the series toward the end of the show's 8th season. In an example of history repeating itself, Merlin Olsen left the show to star in his own television series, Father Murphy, and he was essentially replaced by Victor French, the same man he had replaced years earlier when French left to star in his own show. Victor French would go on to play the role of Mr. Edwards during the 9th and final season of Little House, as well as 3 TV movies. It was clear that regardless of past differences, Michael Landon and Victor French had great chemistry, and audiences loved seeing the duo on screen together. So much so that when Landon created his follow-up series, Highway to Heaven, he once again cast his old buddy Victor French to play his sidekick Mark Gordon in the popular family series. Sadly, Highway to Heaven would be the last show that 2 television stars would ever work on together. Victor French passed away from lung cancer on June 15, 1989, 2 months before Highway to Heaven aired its final episode. And in a dramatic turn of events, Michael Landon would join his friend and television partner in heaven when he would also pass away from cancer just 2 years later, on July 1, 1991. They were both 54 at the time of their death.